Arizona, freshman Republican Congressman Paul Gosar of Arizona. Congressman, thanks for being here. Let's begin here. What can you say to Americans really just so frustrated at this point, losing confidence in their elected officials because you can't seem to make any meaningful improvement to our massive debt and deficit?
Well, it starts, Lori, from the top down. You just heard the president blame Republicans. And once again, leadership, you should be bringing people together instead of dividing them. And once again, he's the great divider. But I'm sad. What I looked at is I saw the Sunday news reports. I saw John Kyle orchestrate, an idea for revenue as far as reform of our tax code. That took some of the loopholes out that are benefiting big groups. And benefiting, making sure that small businesses and our families are taken care of. And that would represent $250 to $300 billion, which, if I do my math right, that is 1/4 of the $1.2 billion. And if I'm not mistaken, they wanted a 3-for-1. So here was a revenue way, without increasing taxes, but finding ways to find some money with 3 parts cuts. Where was the Democratic aspect? All I've seen is charges. Why didn't we go forward?
So it really does, when you talk about math, right? It boils down to simple numbers. You're trying to cut $1.3 trillion over 10 years. In that time, the budget, from what I understand, if my math is correct, now something like $44 trillion. I mean, why is it so tough? I mean, it seems like this is a debate over ideology.
I think it is, Lori, because we've got, we're very polarized in America right now. We've got those that are self-made, but then we got others that don't understand a financial statement. We can't spend more than what we bring in. And what we've done is we've seen the telltale of taking down businesses with the numerous regulatory burdens. For example, this administration, President Obama, issued 220 new regulations to the Speaker that he wants to put forward, all of which have a cost of $100 million apiece, with 7 of them having an additional $1 billion apiece at least. That's unruly, and that's not what the American people want, and that you can't get businesses to start up in that kind of climate.
Much has been spoken, much has been criticized, much has been written about the role of Grover Norquist and his Americans for Tax Reform. I know you, Congressman, also signed his pledge for no new taxes. Does that make this kind of negotiation even more difficult when you have an all-in pledge like that?
I don't think so, Lori, because I looked at it. I was one of the 100+ that signed, that put everything on the table. And when I asked about revenues, I was just like Senator Kyle. I wanted us to reform the tax code. I'm tired of putting Band-Aids onto the tax code. Like so many other freshmen believe the same thing, that we can get rid of some of the loopholes. We can make it a flatter, more broad type of a tax where we're actually generating some income. And then we show actually some benefits to businesses and families. That's the thing that actually works. But I'm really tired of seeing the bantering, and it seems to start from the top down.
When you mention businesses and families, now that we're past the Supercommittee, a fail obviously, but there are still a lot of issues. And even though this might not trigger a debt downgrade per se, the Supercommittee failure, that is, you still have issues like the extension of the Bush tax cuts, the extension of unemployment insurance, all things that, if not, a lot of people would argue, extended will be a serious blow to the economy.
Well, this is going to hit our economy, Lori, because, you look at the sequestration, equal cuts, military and other discretionary mandatory spending from like Medicare and Medicaid. But we have to understand that we are really spread thin with our military. But equally, is everybody prepared? You talked about it earlier about our docs fix. I'm a dentist, being very involved in that doc fix. If we don't get some kind of a doc fix, we're going to see physicians take a 29% hit, and these cuts on sequestration add on top of that. So is everybody willing to have health care issues and not being able to see a doctor as of 2014? This is some really hard-hitting stuff. So I hope that the Democrats are really looking at this, in a creative, open environment, because it's got biting edge to both sides.
It's right, biting edge, hard-hitting, and so far no solution. This country is in a financial hole. It's, that's one thing everything unfortunately has to agree on here. Thank you for your time, Congressman.